we are joined by Dosia Kumbe. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did fantastic.
Okay. Who
Yeah.
is a 2017 alum from Nigeria. So she was one of our international students when she graduated, and she is currently residing in Maryland. She was a biology major from our Fayette campus. So, Dosia, welcome to our Alumni Speaker Series talk this evening. Super excited to get to hear your story of what brought you here and be able to get you connected to other students and alums that might be able to help reflect on their journey while they were here at Upper Iowa and what they have done or continue or want to do after their completion of their degree as well. So, welcome, and
Thank
we're
you.
super excited to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here tonight.
So, Dosia, I know that there, excuse me, are
Sorry.
several things that you want to talk about, but first, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Baridosia Kumbe, where I go by Dosia. Oh, what about me? I am currently working as a nurse. I love music. What? What fun things about me? I enjoy traveling. For some reason, I just love traveling. So that I think that I want to make that part of my identity, traveling. So yeah. Yep,
All
yep, yep.
right.
Mhm.
Why don't you give us a little background on what brought you to Upper Iowa?
Funny story. I captioned this whole talk the unending adventure because I've learned that life is an adventure, and coming to UIU on its own was an adventure for me. I did not pick UIU; it was picked for me. So state did a whole scholarship scheme for students, and I was one of the lucky students that passed the exam to study abroad. And my state happened to have picked Upper Iowa University as one of the universities students were sent to. So I'm like, sure, I don't know what the school is about. I just heard it's an international university, and I'm like, sure, I'll go, let's go. And I jumped on the plane and arrived at UIU.
Well, we're glad that Upper Iowa picked you.
Yes,
Um, can you talk about what it was like coming from a new country and the adjustment that you had to make being so far away from home?
Coming from a new country, I mean, I didn't think much of it until I had maybe settled in for maybe a month. I'm like, wow, okay, I actually did that. But coming from like Nigeria is a very tropical country. It's a very hot, warm climate, beautiful trees, fruits, everything. It was warm, nice. The only place I had seen snow was on TV. Maybe when I watch Christmas movies, you see the snow, you're like, oh, that looks cool, that looks cute. And I arrived Upper Iowa University October, November-ish, around that period, and it was already snowing. It was already very cold. I'm an innocent mom thinking, oh, like how bad could snow be? She's never been to the US and she's really never interacted with snow. So I mean, she bought me this thin jacket and thought that would do it. I had a sweater, I had a bunch of things. Well, I didn't cut it. That was like a rain jacket. Yeah, so it was really cold. It was so we no, it was an experience. No, I feel that was the first woo. Okay, hold on. Am I in the freezer or something? That was my first was that shocker. And then we went shopping, we got the right apparels for the weather and everything, and that was good. That was good. And then we went to the shop of food and I'm like, okay, everything seems sweet over here. Everything seemed very sweet. If I can remember, well, it's been a long time ago, but I still remember everything seemed very sweet, and I had to maybe add salt and pepper to stuff just to give it some flavor, some just to keep my taste buds happy. What else? What else? Little things like even the way words were pronounced. I remember, for example, I have water right here. The phonetical sounds of words are quite different from back home and here. So I had to adjust to all of that change. Like we call this, well, America would say water here. Well, back home it was water. So the T
Okay.
was, yeah. So all those little differences. I don't know how I adjusted, but hey, it happened. It happened, and I'm here. Yeah.
I know you talked a little bit in our conversations about embracing the local,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
the local culture, just kind of how things are different. Can you talk a little bit about that transition and that adjustment?
Yeah, definitely. One major difference for me in UIU is Africa is a very, not Africa, let me speak for Nigeria, from the country I come from, because Africa is very big. We have so many countries. Is you have more of the, you have to make eye, in America, you make eye contact with people when you have conversations with them. But in Nigeria, as a sign of respect, you don't look people in the eye.
Mhm.
So that had to be a cultural thing for me. I had to know, okay, when you're talking with people here, you look them in the eye, make eye contact. It's not insulting, it's the culture. And what else? We had things like calling the professors by their names. Back in my country, you go either yes, ma'am, yes, sir, or miss, or basically auntie. My auntie in school said this, my uncle in school said this. But when you're referring to professors here in the US, you go like, for example, Dr. Shealy said this, or Dr. Jones said this, or Dr. Scrady said this. So you have to literally address people by their names. And some people didn't even want the doctor in your name. So I had to get used to calling, for example, let me say, calling a professor by their first names. And for me, I was like, it took some getting used to, but hey, and I had that mindset of you're in a new environment, you just got to soak it all in and adjust quickly. So I think that's one tip I would just throw off right off the bat to anybody who's an international student coming to a new environment. You're in a new place. It's like being new. You have to pick up new things and learn this quick. Okay, this is what they do here. It's not disrespectful here. It's acceptable here. So you just have to be flexible in your thinking and in your day-to-day lifestyle.
With the adjustment of that culture shock in coming to a new country, also can come homesickness, wanting to be able to explore the surroundings. How can you afford to live away from home? A lot of the same things, fears, comments, things like that, that those of us that even live close, coming to college close, or students from the United States might even be facing. So,
Yes.
what tips might you have for all students, but specifically other international students coming who might find themselves in that same situation of being homesick or kind of those insecurities of being so far away from home?
How did I handle that? First things first, it's normal to miss home. Whether you're 10 minutes away from home or a million miles away from home, it's normal. You'll feel homesick, you're away from your comfort zone. And so there's that emotional feeling that comes with that. Um, with me, what I did was I made sure I was connected somehow. So we had WhatsApp. International students, I believe most of us use WhatsApp because that was one way um, to stay in touch with people back home without having to pay for minutes or buy airtime or have a prepaid phone plan. So yeah, I had WhatsApp. I was always in touch with my family. And another thing I feel people don't understand is the time zones are very different for different people. So maybe sometimes you might be in class. I know you're not supposed to text in the class, but that is the only time your family is awake to chat with you. So it took some getting used to telling family, hey, about this time I can't be on my phone because I'm in class, or you just communicate because aside you adjusting, your family back home is also adjusted to the fact that you're not there and
Mhm.
adjusted to the fact that there's a change in time zone. They can't get to you as quickly as they would always want to get to you. And another thing I did was keeping pictures, having pictures of my family, having pictures of my siblings, my friends. It just helps as a reminder. And talk about it. Don't just like have the pictures. If you have a friend, oh hey, this is my mom, this is my brother, and I think just having that therapeutic conversations with people just reminds you of family, and you at least you're sharing some useful, valuable information with another person. So that actually helps. What else? Exchange pictures. Like if you go on a fun adventure in school, you send pictures back home. I'm like, hey, this is what I did today. It also educates them on the lifestyle and the culture of the new country you find yourself in. So it's yeah, fun things like that. I think I did stuff like that to just try not to
Um,
be. Say,
what about being able to balance academics but still trying to have a social life while being a student? Or just
well,
balancing academics in general, as it might be different from the United States as it is to home.
well, where I come from, there's a saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? And we're not trying to be dull Jack. We're trying to be the happy, lovely, social Jack over here. But what I did was, I don't know, I feel like just joining clubs and organizations kind of helped me have a social life because I like freshman year, I was new. I really didn't know people except I came to UIE with two fellow Nigerians, so I wasn't totally isolated, and that helped me,
Mhm.
right? I joined clubs. I joined so many clubs in school. I was a member of PAS. I was a member of ISA. And I worked too. So I got on-campus jobs. I worked at the cafe. I worked at the alumni office. I worked at the international office. So I had all these people and all these places I could always make friends and relate with people. And people are always very nice. Iowa is at this Fayette, Iowa, is a very friendly environment, and people are genuinely curious and caring. So yeah, so social life. I did all the fun stuff. Hey, Shina's was downtown. We went to Shina's. We had a good time. I still miss the barbecue. Like I cannot tell you. I've been looking for the taste of the barbecue chicken down at Shina's downtown. I can't find it. So the next time I visit, whenever that is, I am going straight downtown to go have that. I'm telling you, I'm for real though. But yeah, I had a great social life, and then I also joined a sorority, and that really helped because having a network of females that kind of cheer, you guys do things together, you go out together, you have fun together, was really helpful. Yeah, and then yeah, social life. You have to have a social life in school. If you're just going to school to like study, so it's great. Honestly, please focus on your studies and make sure like you're able to do your homework. And I feel like the friends you make in your social circles, you could also study with them. I think that's what I did. I made sure, yes, I had friends that like to go party, like to have fun, but I also knew to have friends that we balanced our time. So if it's playtime, we play hard. But when it's study time, we study hard too. And we're like, okay, we can't go to XYZ place until we finish this assignment and we've covered this chapter for the next day. So you had those people that held you accountable and they went to said, we're like, hey girl, are you out? I'm coming. you know, like you just balance everything out. Yep. Yeah, I did. I did that. How what else? And
Um,
oh,
what
go ahead.
about what about any of like the language barriers and communication barriers that you might have faced coming to a new country? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, and I will because that was what pushed me to go into ESL, right? So when I came to the US, because I pronounce words very different from the American accent. I think that people don't know about Americans. There is an American accent and there's an African accent. So when you leave the shores of the US and you go to a different country, you're like, oh, you're American, right? Because you just sound different. And I think people from different countries have a way of sounding different. And I think that's what we call accent. So I remember there was this day I went, actually the next day when we went to Walmart, I really wanted to buy something. And the mom was, sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. I don't understand you. I was like, I'm trying to say I want this. But he couldn't understand what I was saying. So I took it as a moment to learn something. I said, okay, Dosia, you may not have the American accent packed down, but you have to make sure your communication is clear enough for people to understand what you're saying. So
Mhm.
it's like a motivation for me. So I try to make sure I was clear when I speak. If I don't know how to pronounce a word, I asked my American friends, "Hey, how do you pronounce this word? How do you say this thing?" And that way it helped me. I said it helped me like learn to pronounce words better in the American with the American flair or accent, and that was helpful. I still remember. Oh my goodness, there was an exam. I no, no there was an assignment we had, and my writing was all in the British style. So the verbs, everything, the way it was arranged, and I submitted that work, and that was for my communication class. and she gave me, I think, a D or something. And I was just curious because I mean, if I don't know something, I want to know exactly how I can fix it. And she's like, it's not. She was like, it's not even a matter of the content. I just couldn't read your work properly because it had a bunch of grammatical errors. I'm like, oh, is that an issue? Oh, I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. I totally understand that we can work on this and we could get a better grade. It's because she just wasn't patient enough to, but she was understanding to the point where she could explain that this was the issue. So she was like, just take it to the writing center and they would help you. And that was the first day I knew there was a writing center in UIU. So I took it to the writing center and we worked together. And I could see, okay, when they flipped this, they're like, oh no, with American verb, American tenses, this is how you put this is how you put that. And for me, that was a learning experience. So I would advise anyone that's afraid of writing to please make use of the writing center because they're very helpful. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes,
yeah,
they are.
very helpful.
Um, while you were at UIU, you were very active and participated in opportunities whenever you could. Can you
Mhm.
talk about, and you've talked a little bit about some of it, but can you talk about some of the things you were involved in and how those experiences impacted you while you were here?
Mm, sure. One trip that to me, okay, not one, maybe the two memorable trips I took while I was at UIU was a trip to Haiti. It was a volunteering trip with Partners in Development to Haiti, and the trip I took to Italy with UIU. So the trip to Haiti, oh my goodness, that was a whole different, that was an experiential journey because just leaving the shores of the US or different country to see how things are over there, how like there were kids, they were just running and like it was just a whole, and I was glad to be part of that journey, right? And then the fun trip to Italy got me exposed to the world of arts, like the Da
Mhm.
Vinci's, the Picasso's, the we went to Venice, Rome, where else? Florence. Florence still remains one of my favorite cities because when we went, I got lost in that city, and I
Mhm.
think that fired my flair for travel and for exploring the world because you sit in your small corner and you're like, okay, maybe this is what the world is. The world is bigger than we know it, and people have lived and existed way before we ever existed, and have done so many wonderful things that our minds can't even imagine. So yeah, I feel like that was the beginning of, yes, coming to America was like, yeah, it's an adventure. But to me, that was the beginning of, oh my God, there's world out there we have to see. And that has really changed my perspective in life. And I feel interacting with people from different backgrounds like that, I have a different perspective on life. I don't just see things from a one-sided perspective. I see things from different perspective because I know, oh, this is the culture. This is how they perceive things over here. And I'm like, okay, no, it's not this, it's that. So I think it's just made me a well-rounded individual.
All right, thank you. We have had a couple questions that have come in on the comments on Facebook, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. One came in that what experiences at UIU helped you out the most in your career journey?
Hmm. In my career journey, while I was in my senior year, hi, Dr. Jones, if you're listening, if you're watching this. While I was in my senior year, Dr. Jones and I worked on a project together. And that project, we did, and we went to the Iowa symposium and presented that project. And I went with a bunch of other science faculty. I think Dr. Shilly was there on that trip. And to me, I feel like that was the beginning of my world into research and science because Dr. Jones like, oh, let's just do this together. Let's see how you like it. And I did it. We did a little research in a corner there. And since then, I have been invested in research. I have co-authored three papers in my during my master's program. And because of that symposium, we went on and I was able to put that on my resume and I got my dream job, my first job. Like, oh, I wanted to work with Abbott. I just told myself that was what I wanted to do out of undergrad. I was like, I want to work with Abbott. It seemed like a good company to work for. And I did. It landed me my first job. And yeah, so I'd advise any student who is in school, avail yourself of opportunities like doing a research project with your supervisors. And every summer I did summer internships, and that really helped too. So yeah, no, Upper is a place. I just think people need to know exactly how to structure life, fun and academics together to give you a brighter future, because it's possible. It's possible.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And there was another one that came in that is, was it hard to find friends as an international student?
Um, I think personality plays a role in this. Personally, it wasn't really hard for me because I was curious and I was willing to make friends. I was willing to make friends, and in my head, a friend of a friend was my friend. So if a friend of mine was like, "Hey, this guy's my friend," I would go, "Hey, how are you? You're friends with XYZ." So it wasn't too difficult for me. But I know it can be a challenge for a lot of international students, especially when they feel like, oh, this person doesn't understand what I'm saying, or maybe this person just doesn't get me. It's kind of difficult to push through, or just shut. If there's anybody going through that, I would say challenge yourself. You don't have to have everyone as your friend. Just try to make one friend. And from that one friend, you'll be able to connect with the friend of that friend will become your friend, and you'll build from there. Also join clubs. Clubs really helped me. I I wouldn't say I was a shy person, but sometimes I could just be to myself. But when I joined ISA was when I was like, oh, I remember you were in my class. You were in my class. I saw you the other day. And from just being a member, I enjoyed it to the point where I became president of a club. So just finding what works for you would really help you with your social life. And UAE has a lot of things for you to do. So tap in.
Thank you. Anyone's education and career can take us down many roads and adventures. And so it's important for us all to be able to set goals on where we might see ourselves headed now and in the future. Um, what are some key points that you can share with our audience tonight about how to achieve those goals and continue to be able to grow in your career field?
Hmm. I always say just have your eye on the prize, because I always knew, yes, I was coming to the US to study, to get an education and to get out with a degree, right? So regardless of whatever I did, regardless of how hard I played, how hard I worked, the end goal was to get out with a with my degree, and not just any degree, a good degree, right? So I would always say start with the end in mind and do all you can. Seek counsel. Like if you don't know something, for me, what really worked for me my freshman year was for some reason, I got talking with a senior, and he was like, one of the best ways to survive this school is build the right foundation in your first year. So freshman year, a lot of people just come in and they're like, oh, I'm in college, yeah, let's party, let's have fun. Yes, do all of that. I champion that. But while you do that, also understand that your freshman year is the best time to build a solid foundation academically, right? Just make sure you secure your A's or secure your B's, and make sure, okay, I got this pat down. And then, because honestly, if I remember correctly, my third year was a little rough. It was really shaky. But because my foundation, my first and my second year, I was like, okay, I built a good foundation. I wasn't afraid of when it was now shaky. I was like, you know what? I got this. And then senior year, senioritis hits. You don't want to do anything. Honestly, I don't want to do anything. So
Let's
just
not say that too loud.
well, you know, but true. But have a good foundation when you like start strong, and UIU has the tools to make you start strong. And I props to all my professors. You guys were amazing, I must say, because when you don't know something, they're willing to help you. Yeah, I don't know how many times I sat down in Dr. Shirley's office or Dr. Joseph. Dr. John, he was my academic advisor. That's why, like, I mention his name every day. I sat out and just, I don't understand this thing, and he'll try to explain. He'll draw on the board. But I still remember Dr. Shirley trying to explain something, and I was like, just staring at her because I couldn't understand it. But they do a good job at making you understand what you don't understand. So make use good use of the office hours, and even when you don't understand that the office hours, go back again, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
So you got your bachelor's degree here, majoring in biology, and then you took that transition and went to grad school. Can you talk about what that transition to grad school at Johns Hopkins was like for you?
Hopkins was too serious. It was a great transition, I must say, because from UIU, that was fun, life was good. I started working as a research scientist with Abbott Labs, and I was doing research, doing pharmaceutical research, and it was good. And then I realized, you know what, pharmaceutical research is great. What I want to add, I want to work with people. I just don't want to be behind using a pipette and using a hood to mix up stuff. I want to be hands-on, work with people, understand the biology and the physiology of a human body and how disease processes and all of that. So I did my research. I just didn't want to be any nurse. I wanted to be a research nurse. So I still wanted to care for people, but at the same time be able to be like, okay, write papers to support whatever we're noticing in the field and back that up. So yeah, so I think it really helped transition well from undergrad, beginner level research. I entered the pharmaceutical medical world of research and I realized, okay, this is great. I like it here, but I can do more. So I stepped into human research and nursing in general. That was where Hopkins did a fantastic job because Hopkins is one of the leading schools that combines nursing research with hands-on nursing. So yeah, it was a difficult transition when it comes to maybe academic work because it was really intense. It was an accelerated program, but it was worth the time, worth the investment. That was good. Stressful, but good.
Others that might be contemplating pursuing a graduate degree. How were some of the demands of grad school different than the demands that you had of your undergrad degree?
I feel like with grad school comes adulting. Undergrad degree, I had a cafe, I had food, I could go there anytime, I could eat whatever I wanted and go back to the library to study. But and I had housing. UIU makes housing available for students. But with Hopkins, I had to find my house. I had to cook my meals. I had to study. I had to make sure my assignments were in on time. It was just another level to it. It was, and I feel like I didn't have no shade to Hopkins. Hopkins is a fun place, but I feel like I didn't have as much fun as I did in UIU. Yeah, I didn't have as much fun. I feel I was just focused on book, 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 book. I did a lot of research. I worked as a research assistant on different projects, but the play wasn't there. I mean, UIU, I had a blast. I had 3+ years to have fun. But yeah, yeah, it was intense, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
Can you touch, and you've kind of already touched a little bit on
Mhm.
this too, but can you dive a little bit deeper and talk about some of the obstacles that you've faced from being a student and now a healthcare professional and how you've overcome some of them? And maybe it can just be the obstacles that you have faced as a healthcare professional, not necessarily as a student, but
Yeah,
as a professional in your field and what
yeah.
you're doing as a healthcare professional. What are some of the obstacles that you have faced and how have you overcome them?
I think one of the major things I'm actually still struggling with and I'm working towards overcoming it is as a nurse or as a healthcare professional in general, you give so much to your patients, and sometimes you forget to give time to yourself.
Mhm.
Right? You need those mental health days, right? And the higher you go in a career, especially in healthcare, the more responsibility is given to you. Like for example, last week and this week, the nature of my job, I don't know if I said this, but I'm an ICU nurse. So my job involves people passing and having to transition them to the morgue and do all those more heart-wrenching things. And I feel like nothing prepares you for stuff like that, right? You just jump in and do what you have to do. And it's emotionally tasking and you don't realize it until you're in it. So I think nothing really prepares you for the realities of life. And yeah, so I think that's one challenging thing about my field. It's serious. You have to be serious with what you're doing. People's lives are literally in your hands. So you can't afford to be careless with anything. So it's, yeah, being on top of being on top of your game is required, highly required. Maybe undergrad you could make mistakes and get away with it, but the higher you go in life, the more responsibilities put in your plate, and you have to deliver. So yeah, I think I would, yeah, just leave it there. Just leave it there. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Just as a reminder, if anyone has any questions for Dosia to please, you can ask them in the comments on the Facebook page, and I will ask them of her. Um, Making connections and building relationships is important to advance in any of our fields. What would you say is the biggest piece of advice that you have for our audience on building relationships?
Oh, relationships are key. They're very, very important. Networking is everything. Like, and I know people feel like networking is dressing up in suits to go to all those formal events. I don't see that as that is too much pressure for me. Well, I think just knowing, no, just even responding to a simple message or putting your face to a mail is a form of networking. I don't know. I enjoy just knowing people, being curious, generally curious. And let me say, if I know Annie knows somebody, I'm like, hey, Annie, I know you know this person. Could you like introduce me to this person so I could, it like I say, it just takes one. It takes the one person, and the friend of a friend is your friend. Just have that mentality. And I think that's how I network. If I know, oh, maybe, Dr. Sweeney knows this person, might know this person. Oh, this person is in biology. Would he know? I'm like, hey, do you know this person? Do you know anybody? I'm not afraid to reach out. I'm not afraid to be like, hey, this is me. I'm over here. It helps. I think it helps. It helps. Just put your face out there. That's my form of networking. This is my face. Hi, I'm here.
Networking, yes, absolutely. And so that kind of piggybacks off of my next question. We talked a little bit about building those relationships. What are some other top qualities or skills that individuals should have um, when entering their careers that can help make the teams and organizations that they are working for successful?
Oh, add value. I think being a person that adds value wherever you go is very, very important. And I learned that because you can't be lazy. It's a career, right? Or you're trying to, wherever you find yourself, whether in a classroom, whether in a small team, whether in a meeting, whatever it is, just make sure you're one of those people that adds value, brings importance to whatever you're doing, no matter how small it is. If your value added is, I know the right pen we should use to sign this document, add that value. Nothing is too small. Just make sure you're there, and always go 2 steps further. If others are going 1 step further, push it. So okay, I know no one is gonna, so maybe stay till 8. Let me just stay till 8:30 and make sure my job is done tonight. Just so if you come in the next day and they're like, oh, who did this? Like, oh, I actually have it over here. Just I'm learning that it's important to be one of those people that adds value in the environment. You take it a step further. And another thing I'm learning to do is speak up for yourself and speak up for others. There's one thing to just speak up for yourself and just chill. There's another thing to be like, hey, yeah, I speak up for myself, but I also speak up for others, because sometimes people are maybe not confident enough to speak up for themselves, or maybe just shy, or maybe they don't even think they should speak up because they don't want any attention, which is okay, which is fine. But if you know they're deserving of an accolade, or they're deserving of the honor, or the congratulations, don't take it, pass it, especially when you know they deserve it. Yeah. Yeah, what else? Let me see. Oh, and yeah, don't give up too easily, because things will be very challenging. Like, think like the real world is challenging. Y'all didn't tell me this while I was in undergrad. The real world is challenging, but hey, we gotta push. We have to push. And like, I still remember when I got my first job, real adult job. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going back here. I'm not doing this. It was hard. It was really hard, but I learned that hey, things are hard. You gotta push through. You gotta pull through, and you gotta make it work. So I realized after I pulled through, and I wasn't afraid to be like, hey, this is how I feel about this. How can you guys support me in this? I was willing to reach out for support and ask for help. And yeah, I was given the support I needed to do better. So
That's great.
yes.
Um, one of the topics that is key in my office is career readiness.
Okay.
So we belong to NACE, it's the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And they have, over the course of time, developed 8 core competencies that employers are looking for in new hires and recent college grads. And this was developed through HR professionals and hiring managers. And so it's a pretty hot topic in career services and just higher ed in general. What competencies do you feel are most important in helping someone excel in their career field and why?
Mm. Let me just recap a bunch of the competences. I know career and self-development, teamwork, communication, technology, equity and inclusion, professionalism, critical thinking, and leadership. I feel like all of them are very, very important. I have spoken on teamwork because, you know, it's very no man is an island. You have to work along with people. And I believe we have a bunch of team activities we do in undergrad where we had to like do papers together and everything. But I know it was emphasized while I was in doing my master's program. I couldn't do publish a paper by myself. I had to work with a bunch of people and you guys have to agree and yeah, so working as a team is very important. Communication, very important. Very, very well, I feel like all these competencies are actually top tier. Critical thinking, yeah. I use it every
Mhm.
day, every day, every day. Yeah, and leadership. Don't be I feel like to me, I think what made my experience at UIU take a 360-degree turn was when I said yes to being the ISA president. I think that was the very first time I stepped out of the shadows. I'm like, okay, I could actually step out and do something. And I would encourage every student here before you graduate, just take one leadership position in anything you find available to you. And you'll see how you'll learn so much from it and you'll grow in ways you never expected. Because I said yes to ISA, we ended up hosting and winning best event of the year that year. I take my crowns. I've never forgotten that one. We did the International Cultural Night. It was amazing. It was beautiful, and we won best event. Daryl Groove will surely attest to this. Yes, we did win that award. And then I also got to attend the President's Ball. I got to do a bunch of fun things by just saying yes to just one. Oh yeah, and I also got to be the what was it called? The speaker for the senior
The senior
of my
social.
class. Yeah, the senior
Yep.
socials. By just saying yes to one tiny thing I thought I was doing in my corner, it was lighting lights for me that I would never have expected. And now, like when I look back, I needed a letter the other day. I was like, "Oh, Dr. Duffy, hi, it's me. You don't remember me? Here's my picture." It's like, "Girl, I know you. Weren't you?" I was like, "Oh yeah." So yeah, people are watching, people are seeing, people know you by just stepping out. So just make sure you take. I'd advise anybody just take one, even if you're like the secretary of the group, you're like maybe take notes for the team or do something that puts you out there, put yourself out there, be comfortable being uncomfortable, and just see how life changes for you. Yeah.
How would you encourage other people to improve upon those skills and competencies?
Well, if you don't put yourself in the situation, you would never know to even improve in the first place. So I would encourage you to put yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then find mentors. By the time you put yourself in that position, you realize, oh, I need help. I'm drowning. And you'll find mentors that will pop up and be like, hey, I'm here to help you. I can help you do this. This is what you should be doing. Attend conferences. Conferences are very important, like self-development conferences. I live for those. They're very helpful, very helpful. And seek help. You can't do this yourself. Teamwork. Like team. If you see somebody who does it better than you, be like, hey, my name is. How can I, introduce yourself? Don't feel threatened by another person. See them as an inspiration and try to learn from them. Life is not a competition at all. Just yeah, just try to learn from the best and be the best.
Are there any final pieces of advice that you would have for those that are listening tonight or those that will watch the recorded session later to the UIU community? Any piece of advice that you would have as we wrap things up tonight?
Right now, just two popped into my head, and the first one would be apply for your OPT early if you're an international student who wants to stay in the US. Because a lot of time we think we have all the time in the world, and before you know it, time flies by real fast. So be in touch with your DSOs, be in touch with those who know what you should be doing, apply on time. And also, even before you graduate, sorry, this is personal. Before you graduate, make sure you have a plan. Because a lot of times we just feel like we're gonna graduate and just maybe we don't know you. Am I gonna go back to my home country or am I gonna stay in the US? We have like sometimes because no one talks to you about these things, and maybe you don't have friends that could advise you accordingly. You don't know what to do. All right, but make sure you're in touch with your DSO. Like the before you even think of finals, be like, hey DSO, when am I supposed to apply for my I-20? When am I supposed to get my OPT in place? How do I renew my OPT? How do I extend? Ask all those very important questions because you don't want to be sent back without you having a plan. Yeah, that's one. And also have savings because I don't know what people's pockets are like, but when you graduate, there's that for me at least because I didn't think about it ahead of time. I realized I was like, oh my goodness, I've graduated. I don't have a job. I don't have money, you know? So there's that pause in your life between graduation and finding a job. So make sure you save for that period of your life just so you don't feel stranded or feel helpless. Just plan accordingly. That's very, very important. And another, I think the second thing I'm passionate about is international students that don't know where to go during holidays. Because a lot of times, this like international students leave home, come to the United States for schools, and during maybe Thanksgiving break or semester breaks, don't know what to do with themselves. Some people don't even have family in the US, right? So I think a lot of people don't even think about this. A lot of times kids just stay back and maybe cry and feel lonely, feel like depressed because I feel like that to me that was the biggest time where I felt homesick because everyone went back home to their families and I was like, where do I go? But shout out to Kara Guy. I don't know if Kara is still in UIU. Kara and her family because they opened up their doors to international students and they hosted us every Thanksgiving and that was amazing. So I would advise international students to please make friends. And if you don't maybe have a family to go to during this time, seek out internships because most of the times you have internships that pay your room and board and pay your feeding. Like I know I did a bunch of them when I was in UIU. So find all these opportunities so that when people are going back to their homes, that is the perfect time to build your resume. Take it as a time like, okay, let me do this internship, let me do that internship, let me build my resume so that by the time people are coming back with a full tummy, you're coming back with a full resume, and you're like, oh, this was my poster presentation, this is what I did, and it sets you up for a brighter future. Yeah, those are the two things that popped into my head. I don't know if there's any other thing. If there's any questions out there, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much for enlightening us on your experience at Upper Iowa and a little bit of what you have done since your time here. We have appreciated getting to know you a little bit better and hearing a little bit about your story. And as we wrap things up tonight, if any individuals do have additional questions for Dosia after our conversation here, don't hesitate to reach out to me within the Office of Career Development and I can get you in contact with Dosia so that you can get connected with her and pick her brain a little bit on what it is that she has done and how her experiences might be able to help you as well. So again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight for the Alumni Speaker Series, and I hope you'll tune in next time. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.